So I guess I'll just go into SMS after that. So I have some KPIs that I pulled out that I wanted to go over in case that's helpful. But I just want to go over my process. So I use Launch Control. I've been using them since 2022. And before that, I tried Batch Leads and I tried Smarter Contact. And I tried one other one I'm forgetting about now. I tried another bigger name one, but then I also tried this one. Actually, my first venture into SMS, it's kind of fun to go down memory lane, was my friend Tyler White, who's actually a great buyer. You might have worked with him before. He's buying a bunch of land for development now, but he's
I don't know.
yeah, I have to connect you guys because he used to buy a bunch of property for me, and now he's pretty much only buying land. So you guys got to connect. But either way, I actually I met him, when I was first getting started. One of the first few deals I did. Super nice guy, and he had been on Sean Terry's podcast, and he was like a celebrity to me because I was like, man, he's Sean Terry's podcast, like he's a successful wholesaler. And he actually, when I first met him, he pulled up in a Dodge Ram truck, which is the same one that I bought a couple years later, and that was why, that was like a goal of mine. But anyway, super cool
Mm.
guy, really smart guy, great buyer, great investor. And anyways, he came up with the first SMS software that I had heard of for like, doing mass blast SMS. And basically what it was is just like an API that connected CallRail to be able to send out blasts. And so that was actually my first venture into SMS. That was way back in like 2019, I think. And my admin VA, who's been with me since then, was the one who helped me with that. And it was working for us. We were getting leads, but it wasn't like it was capped. We couldn't send out thousands like we do now. And so that was my first venture into it. And then it was working for sure, but it was just not in volume. So then I did Smarter Contact for a little bit. I got a few deals from that. And then I tried Batch Leads and I didn't really like that one. So Smarter Contacts are better than Batch Leads. And then I found Launch Control and I like them the best. And so anyways, that's my story, I guess. But been with them since 2022, ramped up to 3 accounts, back down to 2 accounts right now. And in total, we send out, or our cap, I guess, is 250,000 outbound texts a month combined between the 2 accounts. So that's our monthly cap. And we typically use it up every month. Typically before the end of the month, we run out actually. So it's kind of the last week is usually a dead week for us in terms of outbound SMS. We still get some replies coming in, but yeah, so that's a number of texts we send out. As far as the process looks like I said, my admin VA manages it all for me. I still am doing like a week where I typically log in on the weekends, just kind of look at our KPIs and just kind of see how things are going. But also this year has been a bit of a challenge with Launch Control. I've had to redo our templates a few times. And, a good thing about Launch Control is that they'll do it for you for the most part. And they'll kind of coach you through it if they're not going to do it for you. But our first step is just anytime they tell us what templates suck, I'm just like, okay, well, can you create templates for us? Show us how it's done. And then once they do that, we'll kind of just templatize off of those. And so we've had to do that. This is our 3rd time now this year, and it's only February. So it seems like they're kind of just, I guess, adjusting with the carriers. That's one nice thing about doing it with these software is that they're on the side of compliance, so you don't have to worry about that. So they're doing all that work, and they're just passing along those things to you. So sometimes that can result in them pausing your account, which is frustrating. But at least you're staying compliant, so that's good. But yeah, so then once we upload data, what I do personally is I try to upload just enough data for each week. That's what I try to do. And so that we're kind of just hitting that fresh data weekly. And it's not like instead of buying a list of 100,000 people, for example, and that takes us 2 or 3 weeks to get through, I'd rather just buy a smaller list and run through it in a week so that we can contact all those people. So that's what I'm doing. So I still buy the data myself weekly, and then we upload that into Launch and we hit that throughout the week. And then that's in conjunction with follow-up campaigns. So they have what's called follow-up campaign, which is where anyone who doesn't reply to your text, you can hit them again in 30 days. So they automatically will pop those up for you. And all you have to do is click add campaign, and then you can just follow up with those people once that time frame is up, after 30 days. So that's what we do. I would say it's probably somewhere around 50-50. I don't have exact data on new campaigns versus follow campaigns, but I think it's somewhere around 50-50 in terms of what text we're sending, outbound. And then once the replies come in, like I said, this admin VA is managing, himself and a team of people that respond to these texts. And then every time we get someone interested, we just push it straight through to our CRM, which is Podio. And from there, our team just, calls them up and tries to have a conversation with them. So the way that we're doing that, I guess I could go in a bit more detail, is that we look for 2 positive responses essentially, because with texting, obviously you're texting someone, you're not speaking to them. So there can be like fake people, people that are just trying to scam you and waste your time. And so I noticed that when I was being like more loose on the qualifications, we were getting a lot more of that. And since we've done the two positive responses, it's cut it down quite a bit. I would say 90% of our leads are legit, maybe 95, and we're only getting a few scammers these days. So that's nice. But what I mean by that is when we first reach them out to them, it's kind of a response that will elicit either a yes or a no. Like we're basically asking them, not directly, but we're basically asking them, will you sell your house? Like, are you interested in selling your house? And at that point, they're either going to say either yes, no, or not right now, pretty much. Or they might use some choice words with you, but that's a no as well. And so if they say yes, then we'll follow up with another question like, do you have a ballpark price in mind, for example? What's your timeline looking like to sell, for example? Like I said, I'm not doing these texts like you aren't either, so I'm not as familiar with our messaging, but that we'll just kind of push for a second response from them. And then if we don't get that response, we'll put them in a drip sequence to follow up with them. And we're not going to push that lead through immediately. If we do get that positive response, like if we reach out to them and say, for example, okay, thanks for, or okay, great, for example, how soon are you looking to sell it? And they say, oh, within the next 2 months. Well, we probably push that through, and then we just start the process, try to reach out to them, learn their situation, and move forward. But if for example, if they said yes, and then we're like, okay, great, how soon are you looking to sell? And we get no response, then we'll put them in the drip. Or if they say, oh, I'm not looking to sell, like I was just messing with you, or like never mind, or something, then we'll just put them in a longer follow up.
Or the people who say, when you say what's your ballpark, and they say $1 million,
Exactly. Yeah. So that's not a lead. That's not an example of a lead. But if you say like, what's your ballpark? And we have a formula. I don't have it in front of me. We have a formula where if they say what's their ballpark and it's within a certain percentage of Zillow, then we'll push those leads. And if it's like you said, 500K, 1 million or something, then we're not going to push those. So yeah, if they give a realistic price or if they give any like realistic answer after we ask a second question, then we'll send them through. And I think that's pretty much the process from there. I mean, it's not too complicated. That's pretty much it. So yeah, and then I'll just share my KPIs from the last month in case it's helpful. So these are my stats from January. So like I said, we send out 250,000 outbound texts per month. I don't have a number on the like all the replies and stuff to go back and forth, but our response rate on average between the two accounts in January was 8%. And like I said, that's combining the follow-up campaigns and the new campaigns. Obviously, new is like double, and follow-up is like half. So then it kind of blends to be 8%. And then 86% delivery rate. So that means 86% of those 250,000 texts were delivered. And then of the 86% that were delivered, 8% of those people responded to us. So that's what those numbers mean. And then from that, we got 264 leads. So if you look at that on a 30,000 foot view, that's like just over 1%, right? We sent out 250,000, got 264, and then we got 9 contracts signed in January from text. So those are just kind of my KPIs, and that's pretty much what I had. So does that sound good, or is there any other things I should go over?
I mean, from questions we've been getting, I think people want nuts and bolts. So we did talk a little bit about cost last week and features, right, of both smarter contract and launch control. So I
Mm-hmm.
don't know, we need to mention that again, but we could go over pricing on this stuff. I mean, I'll do mine, and then maybe it'll kick off stuff for you. So,
Okay.
because I think you kicked off some stuff for me, and then we'll go back and forth maybe a little bit. And then if people have questions, just put them in the comments, and we'll follow up with it. Um, is that good for you? If I just roll in, and then we can go back and forth a little bit and see if there's anything else we want to fill in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. So I'll do my business real briefly. Trying to find my notes here. So for victories, we closed 2 this week. We sold 1, and the 2 closed were both vacant lots. We sold a vacant lot, and then we got 3 contracts this week, all vacant lots as well. I went to a closing in person this week. I posted that on some social media, just a photo of me and the sellers. I have not been to a closing in probably 2 to 2.5 years, so that was my first one in a long time. But these people were elderly, and they were very old school and very suspicious or concerned about scams and stuff like that. So I showed up at the closing to make sure it happened. And even at the table with the attorney, there were a couple little moments where there was some discomfort, and we had to the attorney and I had to like talk them down off a ledge. So, but it ended up being a really positive experience. And, because they wanted to sit there in the lobby and wait for their check and have their check in hand before they left, I sat there after we signed everything and just talked with them and got to know them. And it was really nice. So I did post a picture of that on a couple of different spots like YouTube and Facebook and stuff.
That's great.
We took a photo. Yeah. And I was able to bring my dog in because it's a dog friendly office. So they were happy about that because they have a shepherd also. So it turned out to be
That's cool.
positive. That was a victory.
Yeah.
It is nice to go to closing once in a while and remember what it's like to be in a closing because I haven't been to one in a long time. And we closed like 40, close 40, over 40 deals the last 2 years. So I haven't been to any closings until this past week. Yeah, and then I've got some challenges in here, but I don't really need to dive into challenges too much because we're mostly about SMS today. Closing story. All right, I'll just jump into SMS and some stuff that I wrote down with the platform. So I will check in because I pulled up tabs just about the membership levels, and we talked about this. Like, let's see here, the pricing plan for Smarter Contact. You can, and we talked about this last week too. But I've done launch control, and I went off of launch control because we had some challenges with getting our account frozen for a prolonged period, and they worked on it, but they didn't get us back online in any quick way. And then there's a great platform. There's a lot of really good stuff about it, like Jasper said, and we used them for quite a while. I don't know, 3 to 6 months, but then we did a split test with Smarter Contact. We like Smarter Contact better for some of the features. I mean, I don't think Launch Control has the calling feature, right? Jasper, you can't call in or out.
Yeah, they can call you, but you can't call them directly from the platform.
Okay, yeah, so we can call in and out from Smarter Contact, which is nice. And then initially we had RVM, which is now illegal, but RVM in there. So you can only use RVM for opted in people for like follow-ups and stuff. But so we can't use it as a marketing tool. Anyway, the starter plan in Smarter Contact is $199 a month. And so that's unlimited leads and contracts, unlimited markets, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, you can go to the link. I don't need to run this whole thing down. I'll put the link in the show notes here. And then they have a pro plan, and then they have an elite plan. And I think it just has to do with how many free outbound texts you get opposed to paying for them. They're pretty cheap, but I guess the point is if you're a beginner or if you have a low budget and you want to start off, you could start off for as low as $199 a month for a platform that'll send a bunch of texts for you. As far as the logistics of doing it, just nuts and bolts, you pull a list, you skip trace the list, and you upload it to the platform, and then you can set up a campaign, and then you just click each number to send it. And our SMS guy has like there's some kind of thing, app or extension you can get on your computer, and just so it'll auto send every 6 seconds or something like that. It's supposed to wait 6 seconds between them so you don't get flagged. So that's that's just the nuts and bolts of it. And as far as getting lists, like I think probably Launch Control has this, and Smarter Contact, you can skip trace on the platform. I don't know, you can't
Yeah,
pull
they
data on this.
they have that too.
Yeah, you can skip trace on the platform. Generally, we find that skip tracing on the platform is more expensive than going with somebody like Direct Skip, where Jasper and I both buy bulk skips for, you can get them for as low as what, 5 or 6 cents per skip, whereas most platforms are going to charge you like 10 or 12% per skip, depending on your plan level. So we're on like an elite pro level plan, and we get 50,000 free texts included in that plan. Obviously the plan's not free. It costs us like $1,200 a month for the plan, but then we don't have to pay for any additional text, and we get free text and whatever other features we get. I think it's mostly about the texts and the incoming messages and calls and stuff like that we get for free with the bigger plan. But yeah, so we usually use up that 50,000 per month, and we have a much smaller scale SMS operation than Jasper currently. We're sending like 50,000 a month, and then so what's that, like 12,500 per week, yeah, ish. So 2,000 ish per day texts we're sending out. And when I'm looking at our numbers here, this is just for the last week. We sent 22,000 texts, which is high because I just said we did like less than that, 50,000 a month. But and then our response rate is 5%, and we do have fairly heavy. We've been recycling some lists, and we've been trying to see how far back we can go with recycling our lists and still be effective. So if you're looking to save money, like Matt Larson, I think his system is he sends a list and then 2 weeks later he resends a list, right? So he's basically recycling lists every 2 weeks, and then when the response rate drops below a certain percentage, he gets rid of that list and brings a new one in. Obviously he's cycling other new lists through at the same time, but if you're trying to save money, you can recycle lists. And obviously, if you're pulling lists, like we pay, both Jasper and I pay for our data. We pay various companies like Direct Skip, and we have we have a subscription with Skipify, and then there's other sources, List Source, and other companies that you can buy data from. But we've talked about before on this podcast, if you're starting out and you have a low budget, you can go on PropWire and pull lists for free. And there are other sites too, but we've talked again on this podcast and in some of the comments about results for PropWire. We are closing deals with free data, and you can do it. So try not to lose a thread, but yeah, we were at a 5% response rate here, and then I broke down some stuff. Our delivery rate similar to yours, Jasper, 88% delivery rate. Carrier block rate is less than 1%, so that's good. And then I did a cost per closed deal, and I did that just based on our cost per month and total leads. We're averaging like 140 leads a month on SMS, and we've been averaging 4 closed. So we're closing about 1 deal every 35 leads that we get from SMS. And so that gives us a cost, because we're spending a fair amount of money, for the subscription platform, for the skip tracing, and for pulling lists. We're spending around, $4,400 a month for 140 leads and 4 closed. So that comes out to $1,100 per closed deal. And when you figure our average closed deal on a piece of land is like 10K, then we're what is that? Is that 10x? If it's costing us 1,100 per closed deal, it's roughly 10x, right?
Yeah, that's great.
10K for 10K profit. Yeah. So that's a 10x ROI on SMS marketing, and then ROI is return on investment. So for every 1,000 we spend, we're making 10,000. So every dollar you spend, you're making $10. So that's pretty good, right? For SMS. And I might not be figuring all the costs. I mean, am I missing something, Jasper? I'm looking at the platform cost, our monthly subscription to the SMS platform, our skip tracing cost, and then our cost to pull lists. And when I total that all up, then I get 4,400, and like I said, 140 leads, 4 closed, 1,100 cost per closed deal. So anyway, that's roughly where I'm at. I guess the point of it is SMS is a really good ROI, and what I'm doing is a business with 6 or 7 team members and closing, 40 or 50 deals a year. So if you're just starting out, you could do it with free data and a much lower plan, and and still probably get a really nice ROI.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think that's all I had written down for SMS. I just wanted to talk about response rate too, because we've gone up and down with response rate, and we're at 5% for this last week, and we've been there. We've been like 4, 6, 7, whatever. And we've talked about this before on the podcast, but a year and a half ago, Jasper, you and I were at 15 to 20% response rate, right? Before all the crackdowns. So you're spending a lot more money just to get responses these days, before all the carriers cracked down and all the regulations kicked in and everything. But the ways to improve your response rate, and jump in here if I'm missing anything, but the quality of your list and the quality of your data, the freshness of your data. You don't want to be pulling or using really old data, because you're going to just have a lot of fallout rate, and people change their phone numbers and all that stuff. The quality of your scripts, which Jasper mentioned. You want to be updating your scripts that you're sending out to people, your initial messages. And Matt Larson has some on his site that we've pulled, and then similar to you, Jasper will edit or use AI. I think Smarter Contact does the same thing for us. If we ask them for scripts, they'll give us scripts, and then we tweak them and mess with them. But I think you do need to rotate your scripts and update them. And then what's the other one? Phone number rotation is one that helped us bump up a little bit recently. Is like you have to retire phone numbers periodically that you're texting people from, because people, people can say stop on your text and then they'll automatically opt out. But you don't know how many people are just blocking your number. Like I do it all the time. If I get something I don't want, I just block the number on my phone. And so you're not getting some of those people after you use the phone number multiple times for similar lists or similar counties or wherever, however you're marketing. So it's important to recycle your phone number, or I mean, change out your phone numbers periodically at intervals. And you can buy
Mhm.
phone numbers on these platforms for a couple bucks, right? I think you buy them. Is it one-time purchase or is it like a monthly? I think it's a one-time purchase, right? I can't
Now,
remember. Do you remember?
I don't use smart contact, but yeah,
I
typically
think
it's
you
a
buy. I
monthly
think
monthly thing.
you pay monthly on launch control.
I pay monthly on call real, but launch control doesn't make you buy numbers.
Oh, so we're buying our numbers through Just Call, and then we're putting them up here. Yeah, right. You're right. So anyway, numbers don't cost that much. Rotate them through. That's a good way to keep your response rate up. And then,
Yeah.
just tweaking your replies like Jasper was talking about. Like we have a bunch of replies in our system that we're always kind of tweaking and editing to see like which ones are eliciting a better response on that first contact when you get the reply, and then how you're how you're advancing the conversation with the sellers, right? What's your after they say, "Oh, I might want to sell it," or "I might be interested," or "Yes, I'm the owner," whatever it is, then what's your next reply after that and your next reply after that, and how do you what's your sort of conversation, your tree of your conversation, right, with the branches, and continuing to tweak that, I think, is a good thing to keep your response rate up and your quality of your leads. And then yeah, and then just nuts and bolts again within the CRM, you have the information of the person you're talking to that it gets uploaded from your list. You can tag people with different labels and tags and filter by that and everything. And then you can push people to the CRM. I think both Smarter Contact and Launch Control integrate with CRMs very easily. And you can just, when somebody's a warm lead, you can just push it to your CRM and then it'll populate there in the CRM. And am I missing anything for nuts and bolts or anything else, Jasper, that came up while I was talking?
Oh, I don't think so. I think we covered just about all of it.
Yeah. So yeah, if you have any other questions about SMS, let us know. We're happy to, answer anything if you're starting out or if you're thinking about trying one of these platforms or scaling up or wherever you're at in your business. We've both been doing it I've been doing SMS since 2023. And I think Jasper, you said you started in 2022, and it's our primary lead gen strategy right now. We do some direct mail and some other things, but we've both talked about, Jasper and I have both talked about phasing out cold calling because we haven't had great results with it. So the ROI for SMS is still great, and you know, it's a fairly low cost way to get some leads in and start closing deals or keep closing deals or close more deals, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's all I've got for that. You got anything else
Awesome.
for SMS?
Uh, no, I don't think so. Just recommend everyone to do it for sure.
Yeah, and
That's
someone
right.
asked on the chat about Roar. I haven't tried Roar, ROOR, and I'm sure there are other platforms out there. These are just the top two that we're aware of, but people are always bringing new stuff out, and there's plenty of options and for SMS. But I think the biggest key is like you do need numbers, right? You need volume. As you can see, the volume we're doing compared to the leads we're getting, you have to get some level of volume before you're really going to start to see steady leads.